Visiting the UK is not the same as living in the UK. My name is Russell, and as an American living in the UK, today I will be sharing with you my extremely valuable and hopefully entertaining insight into the things that have taken the most getting used to here in the UK for me. We're going to start off this list with nice and easy things first, and then later on, we'll get to the more nuanced things. In case you're new here, the vast majority of the views on my channel come from people that are not subscribed to the channel. So it would mean a whole lot to me if you just hit that red subscribe button. You can always change your mind later. The way people say my name. So my name is Russ, as you could probably deduce, and I'm used to that U in Russ sounding like Russ. That's the American way of saying it. Here in the UK, the British are much smoother with their vowels. So instead of hearing Russ, I'll hear Russ. Did you catch that? Instead of ruh, it's more ruh. I'm not saying I don't like it, but it did take some getting used to. This is also one of those things that varies greatly with dialect and where you're from. So however you say it, it's fine with me. Just as long as I'm not chocolate orange guy forever. Paper straws and wooden cutlery. Whenever I get takeout and I decide I want cutlery, it's almost always paper straws and wooden utensils. This is because of a ban for single-use plastics that got enforced a few years ago here in the UK. And believe me, I'm all for using material alternatives to plastic. But paper straws, they change the flavor of what you're drinking as it's going up. They don't play nice with carbonated beverages. And by the time you're halfway through your drink, it's this wet, soggy noodle that you're trying to enjoy the rest of your beverage through. And it's just impossible. The way I cope is now I just finish my beverages really fast or just pop the lid off and drink it that way. And don't even get me started on wooden knives and forks. They look and feel like toys, you know, the kind that aren't actually meant to cut anything. That said, I'm actually impressed with how well I've been able to learn to cut with wooden utensils and stick a fork in the food and make it all the way to my mouth. It's like learning how to use utensils all over again, which living here in the UK now, I already feel like I'm doing. All right, next one. Food going bad. Back before Lottie and I started planning our meals for the week ahead of time, I would ask her what she wants to have for dinner, and I would open the pantry expecting to see all this food and have lots of options, only for her to say, "No, we don't have all these options. We can only make blank." Intrigued, I ask why, and she said, "The food's probably gone bad." And I look at her and go, "We got it like 3 days ago. What you mean it's gone bad?" Turns out, I'm actually eating real food here in the UK and not the preservative-loaded crap that I have been fed my entire life. Not to mention, I don't have a car to throw a whole ton of groceries in to bring home and then store away like a squirrel stores its nuts. I actually have to go out with my own 2 legs and like bags and carry everything I got from the shop back to my house. That's how it works here. For me, anyway. So at least I'm getting a bit more exercise, I suppose. But that does bring me to the next thing I had to get used to, and that is only being able to carry with me anything I can fit in my backpack. Not needing a car to get around is awesome. It's way more expensive to own and maintain a car here in the UK than it is in America, so I'm saving money. And whenever I need to do a shop, like to the grocery store, I can only fit so much in the bag and I can only carry so much with me. So it really sort of prevents me from over purchasing or kind of preparing for portions that are much bigger than what Lottie and I need. So sure, I might have to go out a little bit more often, but is that really a bad thing? I get some fresh air. I get to, I don't know, do a little weight training, I guess. I get a little cardio going. Overall, I love my backpack. I bring that thing with me everywhere. And I love that I'm limited on how much I can bring back with me. It really gets you in the mindset of thinking how much you actually need when you're buying stuff, whether it's clothes or food or whatnot. Next, we have countryside roads. Countryside roads in the UK are a very unique experience. You see, as I've learned, the UK is very old, and a lot of the paths that exist here became roads, and those paths originally were not meant for cars. A lot of times they were for horses, carts, horses carrying carts, or just people walking. Farming vehicles are another one, like tractors and stuff. So really the fact that these old country roads can even fit a standard modern day car like in them is a pretty incredible feat. My first time driving on these types of roads was up north in Cheshire, and honestly, it wasn't too hard to figure out. I think what really freaked me out was how close you could get to the hedges on the road while you're driving, and people are flying down these roads at like 60 miles per hour, not even batting an eye that they're so close. Like even just a second of lapsed attention and you're scraping up against the hedge like you could die. Where I really learned how to drive on UK country roads was in Cornwall. Those roads sometimes weren't even there. They were just dirt paths going through fields or really tiny clusters of houses. I even passed through an entire farm once, like with pigs and cows and stuff on either side of me. It was crazy. Something I really loved about driving on these roads is how well the community communicates with each other when two cars are coming from opposite directions and there is no second lane. Like you just have to veer off into a ditch and wait for someone to pass. I really loved, especially in Cornwall, how people would signal with their hands and with their lights and really just use good judgment from very far away when they could see someone coming. I don't know, that just felt really nice. I felt really cared about as a first-time driver there. Speaking and writing, and I don't just mean using the letter S instead of Z or adding the letter U to words like humor or flavor. Since I've been here, sometimes I've felt like a little baby, like learning to speak English all over again. Things that trigger this feeling in particular are how British folks use phrases such as at university instead of in college, in hospital instead of in the hospital. Things like that. I also noticed that people here really like to use politeness buffers in both written and spoken speech. Instead of please do this or can you do this, you'll hear phrases like, do you think you could possibly, and if you have a moment, could you, those softeners so you don't sound as harsh or demanding. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them, and personally, I use them all the time. What I'm not used to, though, is hearing them all the time. Everyone that I've either written to or spoken to directly does this here. Maybe it's just that American directness that I'm far too comfortable receiving from others, but it's been fascinating to be a part of this verbal culture that has these built-in safeguards to prevent coming across as too entitled or deserving of someone's attention, even close ones. It's actually really refreshing. Customer service is much less performative in the UK than it is in America. Europe in general is much less performative with their customer service, and that's because the UK and Europe in general aren't run by capitalism. That classic American manufactured friendliness and suck-up culture that we all know. It's mandatory when working in the American retail environment because it pushes customer loyalty and it makes those big corporations that run the nation look good and earn your loyalty so that you keep coming back and giving them your money. And as a result, it develops this absolutely dystopian expectation that every staff member of the store that you just walked into should drop everything they're doing and go and greet you and treat you like royalty and kiss your feet. This does not work in the UK for a few reasons, most of which being that a lot of people in the UK, especially in London, really just want to be left alone to do their business. They don't need a fake smile and a greeting to feel good about their shopping. They're there to pick up their shop, pay, and leave. Like a normal person. Another reason that manufactured friendliness will never work here is that people in the UK are really good at telling when you're being fake, and they do not like it. This is the same phenomenon we see with wait staff in America as well. Suck up to the customer enough, put on a plastic enough smile, and you might be lucky enough to get a tip, to make up for the fact that you're legally allowed to be paid $2.13 per hour as a wait staff in America. This is getting into a whole other topic. My point is, when it comes to customer service in the UK, the British are actually very helpful and nice people. You may need to approach them first at the shops if you need something. Do not expect them to get on their hands and knees for you like they would in America. I never expected that from them, but what I learned is that they have far more dignity than we have in America. Well, I think that's enough yapping for one sitting. Thank you for sitting through another one of my one-man chin wags. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and maybe even hype the video. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free, easy to do, and you can always change your mind later. If you're curious about what else living in the UK has done to this American, watch this video here. It's a good one. Being British is fun. See you in the next one.